Now, a group of environmentalists and activists have lodged a complaint at the Woodstock police station in Cape Town against a company building a multi-billion-rand development on the banks of Liesbeek River. They say the company is in contempt of a High Court order that prohibits any construction. The LLPT says they are within their rights to carry on with building because they filed an appeal with the Supreme Court of Appeal, which they say eclipses the High Court order pending a final determination. But activists say this is a blatant violation of the court order. And they want those responsible to be arrested. eNCA reporter Ayesha Ismail joining us now for more on this story. She's live to us from our studios in Cape Town. Good afternoon, Ayesha. What is this? Is all this controversy really about? Surely one would think a multi-billion rand development equals, for example, jobs.
So, Dad, that's the question that's on the lips of a lot of people. And I mean, if you speak to ordinary people, and if one only looks at the current economic climate, one would imagine that people would welcome this opportunity to have this huge multi-billion rand construction creating more jobs for people. But on the other hand, one has to look at the environment and also at the heritage aspect here. And what we do know now is that environmental activists as well as heritage activists are saying that this land is environmentally sensitive and it's also sacred to indigenous people. And so what they are saying is that why can't this development take place elsewhere? Why does it have to take place on the banks of the Liesbeek River and also on a 100-year-old floodplain? But let's listen to what one of the environmental and heritage activists had to say about this earlier today.
Well, it's a concern that Deputy Judge President Patricia Goliath made on the 18th of March earlier this year, that all work should stop because there has not been enough consultation. For example, I and people that I know, we are part of various First Nation movements, and not one of us has been consulted. So the instruction is quite clear, the judgment rather is quite clear, that there should be, all work should stop now and the consultation should continue, right? We do know that they've also appealed, but when we see that pole moving there, it seems as if there's quite an active bit of working going on there, and it concerns us on that basis.
And Ayesha, what about the developers? What do they say about this allegation that they are now in contempt of that High Court order?
Well, they don't believe that they are in contempt of the High Court order. What the LLPT is saying, and they released a statement saying that they have recommenced work, and they're calling that work rehabilitation work that they're carrying out on the site. They're saying that because they've appealed to the Supreme Court of Appeal while they're waiting for a final determination, they believe that they are within their right to carry out this work on the premises, on the old, what we used to call the River Club premises. But on the other hand, Dan, what's also interesting to note is that the Deputy Judge President did not only talk about meaningful consultation with all parties concerned, she also questioned the various environmental authorizations pertaining to this development and the site. And as I said, that this construction, this multi-billion rand construction, is taking place on a 100-year-old floodplain and also on land that is environmentally sensitive. We also know now that the City of Cape Town, as well as the Western Cape Provincial Government, they joining the LLPT in appealing the Deputy Judge President's judgment. But let's listen to, again, to what Professor Fester had to say.
But also it's a very sacred term in terms of environment, it's sensitive, and I mean we know that with the current climate it's all because we are destroying this earth of ours. So climate issues are very, very central to this, and then also the fact that it's sacred land. And now when we are saying that all rights of minority people, like the Khoisan sign, must be acknowledged, this is our history. Well, in fact, we do know that the whole of the Cape, used to be the place that we lived. Our ancestors know. Yeah.
So, Ayesha, just before you go quickly, what should we expect now next to happen here?
So what happened at the Woodstock police station earlier today, when the activists went to go and lodge this complaint of the LLPT being in contempt of court, they did encounter some administrative problems. They did, however, say that they would return to the Woodstock police station with the relevant documentation that was requested by the police captain on duty. But of course, we now have to wait and see whether the LLPT is going to respond, and whether the lawyers from the activists will meet with the lawyers of the LLPT to see whether they are indeed in contempt of court. Of course, the activists are saying that the LLPT, by going back to the construction site and continuing with work, that they have violated and defied the court order, and therefore they need to be arrested.
Thank you very much for that.
Is a story to keep an eye on.
Yes, and thank you very much for this latest comprehensive update. Ayesha Ismail talking to us from our studios live there in Cape Town.